God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Job Shop USA. My name is Keith. We're here in my job shop, Turn Right Machine Works. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to be doing a repair on one of our pieces of equipment. That's right, the WAZER. Remember the last video, we started hearing a little bit of a noise. Well, after that project there, we got on and we typed in for a communication ticket with WAZER, their technical support team, the engineers there. I call them the Great Wazoos. That's a compliment. And so we went through a couple days. It happened rapidly between different tests that I had to perform, but I had to get a few instruments and a couple of things to perform those tests here. And when I was ready, we were able to connect and even video chat, whatever it takes. Their team is ready to help you. So we came down to the conclusion that the pump needed to be replaced. And today we're going to replace that pump. Let's go. You see how low that pump is? The only way this job could get any better is if I was 30 years younger. These joints still move, but there are limits to how long they can bend and move and hold, and how you are when you go to get up from that position. Hence, my best friend that came by and he had this, it still had the sticker on it and everything else, and it was in the back of his truck. And I go, oh, thank you. This is a blessing here, and Protect Flex kneeling pad. This would even be good if your wife kicked you out of the house for the night and you had to sleep in the shop there. You might want to consider picking up one of these. So when I get down there low, the the pump came in yesterday, but I had to go out and get a few things. I needed to pick up the 263 Loctite. It's in one of the procedures there. And I knew that my metric Allens were not torque quality, and I've always wanted, so I picked up a set while I was out there searching for an automatic clicking inch pounds. And I can convert the Newton measurements over to inch pounds, and we'll be able to handle that. My other torque wrenches are enormous, and I wanted a small one, so we're there. We have my laptop here, and we have the Pro Pump Head replacement set of procedures. Okay, there's a set of procedures that they give you in a PDF, and I have it here. And I brought my laptop right here, so I didn't have to get up and go in the other room and look on my PC and see and all of that. Before I put all this out here, I took the air nozzle and I blew down this entire area. I took a rag and I kind of wiped down in here. I closed the hopper here so the garnet doesn't get disturbed or anything. All the rest of this area is free, garnet free. And Now all we got to do is follow the instructions, and the first thing is we've got to shut off our water, unplug the machine, drain the back pressure, and then we can get down here and we can actually start breaking some things loose. Here's our WAZER PRO pump head refurbish kit, and they got it packed in here pretty nice. All right, we're going to set this up on the bench. Our supply line of water is disconnected from the machine. We're unplugged. The E-stop is plungered there, and I bled off the pressure just on the general washdown hose there. Okay, that was the instructions here. Okay, area of the pump here. Pressure relief valves right here. Here's your low pressure input here. We're gonna disconnect, and we're gonna pop this loose here because I don't want this just to hang here. I want to take it off, and I want to go be able to stand up and wipe it, clean it, and prep it for return. High pressure gauge line right here, and we got to pull the high pressure gauge down, and it's surprisingly it's just in a little rubber piece there. They do have one zip tie over it, but I think I can just pop this out. Yeah, there we go. All right, zip tie kind of holds that rubber grommet, and that's all it is, like a rubber grommet here. So that's pretty simple. All right, and we're gonna snake this. We're gonna snake it out of here. So we got this stress-free right here over this line right here. And we're just gonna set it down here for right now. Okay, now we're gonna disconnect the ground wire here. This loop here is kind of in my way here, so I think I'm gonna undo the drain, and I'm gonna pull the slack up here for right now. We're gonna go like that, and we'll just put it in here like that. Opens up some area here. All right, 2.5 millimeter Allen, and we pull out the ground wire here. You know, I contemplated on just undoing the rubber mounts down here at the bottom and the base plate and pop out this whole assembly at the same time, with only having to undo a few electrical lines and things like that. And I think the time I'd be down here on my butt would be about the same amount of time, just doing it in place. All right, I look back here. I'm going to take a rag and just kind of wipe. It's only dust. I've already blown this thing off pretty hard, but I'm going to wipe it down a little bit more and give it another bust. I just want to really keep this clean because it's a tight spot. It's in place, and really want to make that clean. All right, we've got our ground out of the way. 19 millimeter. The high pressure gauge. This is why you got to have this gauge off, and I just got it in my left hand here and letting it rotate. You know, something had Loctite applied to it, it has a little bit of firmness all the way out. There we go. All right, and there's a flange rubber seal there. I am going to take a pause on the steps of procedure because I want to take this line down and tie these slightly over to the side just for camera view advantage. And I know that I've already had this valve off, bypassed, all during my checks. Okay, a little bit of water runs out, no biggie. And here they are. I got a couple zip ties here because I'm picking a these are soft lines. They can flex a little bit here. All right. Make sure the electrical's out of the way. See, now you can see everything there. The next step in the procedure is the disconnect the high pressure exterior hose and immediately clean this hose off and cover. A trick from experience, because we want to pull this off and then we're going to cover it immediately. But I'm going to take my toothbrush and I'm just going to make sure that there's no garnet or other dirt and debris kind of around that threaded area, because the worst case scenario would be for a piece of that to get in the line. That's what they're actually looking for. All right, and then I have rag sealing tools and notice the orientation of this line right here, and it is in a slight upward position. Pay attention to that and to the instructions coming up. All right, I finished pulling this off. And before we get it all the way off, we're gonna hit it with our toothbrush again. I saw a little bit of debris coming off of there, and it could be just the Loctite material that's dried on there, but if you can knock it off and get rid of it there, it's a lot easier than once you see it, because then it can go in, right? Okay, pull it off. All right, let's look at it. Got a little piece of debris there. All right, that looks nice and clean. We're not sticking the hose right in there, we're just kind of blowing it loosely there. I like that. We're going to put a bag over it and a wrap of tape, cheap tape, so it comes off easy. All right, now we're going to set that out of the way. There we go. The next stage in the instructions says undo these 8 bolts. Does undo mean remove, or is it equal to remove? That's the question. Okay. This is a no-name breaker, or I mean reducer, and I know that's not going to hold up. I went down to my local auto store and bought a torque specified adapter 3/8 a quarter. I'll put on my 8mm, and let's see if that feels a little better. Yep. All right. Now we also went ahead in the instructions and went to the next picture or two, and it didn't show these bolts in here. It went on to the next step. So to me, that means that undo means remove. Not loosen. Okay, so that's a PT CRV. That's made in Taiwan. So is that power torque that I got on there. Just saying, it's not China. When you skip from this picture to the next picture, it actually shows the assembly rods in place, but it doesn't tell you to install them. So, but it shows you sliding everything else off of them. So I'm gonna remove the two top corner bolts, and they give you new bolts to use, so these don't get used again. But their pictures are phenomenal in the steps of procedure, and we can do that. We can read the pictures as well. I'm just going to put these in. I'm not going to torque them because it, you know, they say later on to install them, but not to torque them. Everything is stainless on stainless, so if you feel any resistance at all, I suggest you pull it out and take a look at it. Okay, I think that's it on that one. Okay, that's it there. At least they're in there, and I know things aren't going to go flip-flop. Okay, we're going to remove the other 6 bolts. The second bolt here, I'm unscrewing it, and it actually was going like this, and I can see rub marks on this bolt. So the quality of this bolt here was not that great. It might have just been that one bolt. I don't think it was stressed or anything. I just think it was a low quality bolt. I could put an impact on this and whiz these out, but unlike stainless on stainless, like I said, galls, you make a mistake, you do it with an impact, you're going to have a nice galling. Well, maybe it was just that one corner bolt that was See, that thing was loose right now. It's draining a little water in behind the split line back there. But you can, this is like loose, so by having those rods in there, I guess you can control the disassembly the same as the assembly. Okay, now I should be able to grab this and slide this back off of here because that's what it actually shows. And this O-ring came with me. There's still a little bit of lubricant on these. All right, see, now I can go put this on the bench and I don't have to have it hanging here. And that's why I chose to pull that valve. Very next step is to slide out the head. Okay. There's a, oh, that washer just came out. Okay, so there. Okay. They call those packings, I guess. Three big springs in here. I'm just curious because I'm just looking to see if I can see any part of the pump and actually kind of understand its functioning here. So the surface that I just wiped with my finger is really that O-ring surface out there. Next, slide out the spacer and put aside. You want to clean off any buildup or scaling or other materials on the spacer either side. So basically you want to clean the spacer off. Okay. All right. It looks black, it looks plastic, but actually it is anodized aluminum. All right. Just a little tiny bit of dusty particles. We'll take a rag and wipe it and blow it off. Set it up on the bench. Okay, note, in that picture, these were not in there, so you didn't really need these in here to slide that spacer out. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out because they're not in the pictures of the next set of procedures as well. I was kind of glad to have it for that head. It was pretty heavy, and it made perfectly clearance over the foundation or the mount plate below it. Okay, note there was no Loctite on any of those 8 bolts. No lubricant or Loctite. The next procedure is to remove, they call this packing material. I'm from the marine trade, and anytime you've got a gland, that's what the brass material is here. Packing might be the material itself, but we would call this packing gland versus packing material. I know what they mean, but that's what I would call it. And I guess they just pull off just like that. Okay, note that washer was on the face there, just like that. All right, and then they got to be set aside. I'm gonna wipe whatever's on here, whether it be a little bit of grease or whatever, off of these. And this looks like a triple stage piston pump. That's what we're doing. The 3 glands I pulled off of here, I put up on the bench there, but I noticed in the new kit we have new ones to go in there. Not to read ahead on the instructions. The next step in the procedure is to pull these off. These are plunger bolts that we're going to remove. This is the plunger, and this is a tool, and I love tools that are made to fix other tools. So that goes in there like that, and this basically is so that you can hold it straight in a line and you're not just wrenching your pressure all the way off of here. And it said socket, so I'm using a socket, but I got a short socket because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't out here too far as well. And I'm going to put a little bit of pressure going in on this at the same time. And it said undo these, so we know undo is remove. Now I'm just rambling on. It's something to think about while you're okay. There's an O-ring that goes underneath the head of this bolt as well. Alright, now we should be able to pull this all the way out. We'll pull this out of here. So basically 3 parts: the plunger, the O-ring, and the bolt. Alright, we're going to pull the other 2 out. After holding one of these plungers in my hand, they feel like ceramic or hard glass material. That's what they feel like. Well, there's not much of a head on there. Huh. Yeah, Band-Aid. Number 2. Yeah, that thread doesn't look too happy on there. I'm going to make sure that screws in really fine. We may have to chase that one with the tap. Yeah, the center one was a booger. I'm personally inspecting the threads on each of these cylinders before I assemble the going. We'll start on the reassembly now of the new kit. Okay, I can screw that one in and out really fine. This was the easiest one to get out. This one over here got just a little bit of tension on it. This one here has a lot. This is 7mm by 1mm lead. I have just a clean out tap, and I'm just gonna run this in, and all I'm gonna do is pretty much, I think I'm just gonna be removing the old Loctite out of these threads here. I'm not putting any tapping fluid or anything else onto it. I just want to grab whatever's in there and bring it back out. I could put a little tiny bit of lubrication on there to help draw them out, but it'll defeat the purpose of the Loctite. Okay, that was the cleanest hole. I'm gonna get my little tiny vacuum cleaner. See that? That's old Loctite, and you really shouldn't leave that in there to do a reassembly with new Loctite. Okay, now I can see a little remnants of the old Loctite in there, and you could just vacuum it, but I'm gonna I have a compressed air for my computer area there and my 3D printing for cleaning, and I'm gonna put this down in there and I'm gonna blow out the same time I vacuum here to catch it, and that way nothing floats back into the head area. And that's pretty successful. And I'm doing that before because you got to wipe down and you got to clean, and we got to re-grease the sealing area for the plungers, but I want to do this first. So this is not part of the regular procedure in there. This is my own procedure before I'm going to put a bolt with Loctite in an old hole with Loctite. All right, we got a little bit of stuff on the tap there. We're gonna blow that out. Old man reaching on the floor. Okay, that's cleared out. Okay, we're gonna do the one that was the most problem getting out, and we just really hope that this cleans. I'm happy about that. I was really afraid that there was a little bit of distortion on those threads in there, and I think it was just more of that. We'll look at it real close, see if there's any metal in this tap when I bring it back out. But it just looked a little galling on the other fastener, and that is one of the main drawbacks. I don't see any metal. All I see is Loctite fiber material. A lot more goop in that. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Here's one of the bolts I haven't gooped up yet. Dynamite. All right, back to our original procedures, and I've got just a little bit of grease here, and it said to clean and then reapply a coat of grease for the plungers, the plunger mounting area. They showed a glove hand just smearing it on, so I'm just using small acid brush. All right, that's all lubricated. We're on to the next step now. Part of the project is to prep our bolts that are going to hold those plungers on there. So there's an O-ring that needs grease, and then we need to put a little bead just around the beginning of the threads there with some 263 Loctite. I'm going to do the grease part first. I put it under the O-ring first and then over the top because I just want the O-ring lubricated all the way around. The little cans of air actually come in more handy than you until you get one, I guess, you know. Okay, now I say just a little whoop right around the front of the beginning of the threads. The next step is to go ahead and install the plungers. Counterbore side goes inward and the bolt goes in on the flat side. It said finger in the bolts. I wouldn't have been able to do that as well if I didn't clear out those threads. Next one. Okay, this is the problem child. No problem child. And the last one. After doing a little Newton math, because we're going to torque these down. 22 is the starting torque on them, and to torque these now, we need to put our jig back in here, and it needs to be all the way 100% flush to there. And 22 newtons was 194.7 inch-pounds. And that's what I've got here. Our next step here is, I'm just going to put that up there. All right, we're going to unwrap this. We've got to remove our seal glands, and this pump would go up in that direction. So I'm going to take this one, put it here, keep them in order. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. Just common sense to pay attention to what's going on here. Okay, this is the first section. This is second section. And then you have a ring and another piece of packing. We are to coat every mating surface with grease and then slide them on over the plungers here and set into the cavity ready to go. Alright, I decided to set this up, and we're going to take the part right out of here. It said grease all mating surfaces, so we got all these internal mating surfaces with the plunger, and you got a little bit of mating surface on this face here. And O-ring on the outside. Basically, you're encumbering this entire part with grease. I decided to pick one part off at a time so that I can just go like this and slide that part on in place, and then I can grab the next part here in line and give it a coat all the way around. Even in the marine trade, I'd always grease up my packing when I'm stuffing it full in a gland. Alright, and then this part goes on. And then you got to put your finger down in the hole here and you get that ring and that piece of packing. Alright, and that goes on there just like that. Alright, on to the next two. While we have goopy hands, see, and then the only safe place is either there or there, so that's why I'm going in this order here. So it makes sense to me. Alright, next one. I got tired of sitting on the ground. Old man. The next step in the procedure is to slide on the spacer, and it actually points out 3 packing channels coming down from these ports. I do not have any of those ports on these pieces right here, but I can see the imprint of this face right here on this side here, and I can see the head face on this side. So my plate goes on like this. Okay. Then it tells us to go ahead and put our alignment rods in there. Okay, we're going to screw in our alignment rods. Okay, we'll leave it loose. Or we're not torquing it, we're just tightening it. Okay. I wiped off the face, made sure everything is clean here. No lubrication. There's no instructions for lubrication, but they said slide the head, replacement head on here. I jiggled it in position. Okay, and they actually show a picture where it's not sliding all the way on there. That packing's got to go in and be tight. I see that picture. Next, they want to put the intake low pressure manifold on there. Re-grease the O-ring, slide the low pressure manifold into place. I greased all of the O-rings, even the small one here, and it's actually, you want to make sure they don't fall out. And here's what we've been waiting for. Okay, here we go. It says put the 4 center bolts thread them all the way in and use the 8mm hex and torque these 4 to 45 newtons. Which will be 398 inch-pounds. I'm staggering my tensions because I know that we're slowly moving the whole head assembly onto the packing, and I'm taking it down to where it just takes my thumb pressure right now. It's kind of like my initial. I know that we're going to torque these two all equal, but I want to make sure that they're like, and I'm going to feel back here, and I just want to make sure that that head, I want to confirm that the surfaces have made it up, both sides of that spacer. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we're going to do our initial torque here. All right. Now I believe we pull out, let me check here. Okay, remove the alignment rods. We pull those rods out. We screw in the next 4 outside bolts here. and torque those down to the same torque. Just putting them all down to the squish washer first. Okay, now we'll torque those. Final torque on the head now, and we're going up to 619 inch-pounds. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure I'm, yeah, 3. I keep the short stroke because if that lets go, I don't want to bang my knuckles. Glad I'm done with that. Okay, there's no flies on that little 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter right there, right? Okay, no Loctite on the first thread, huh? Okay, so let's take some electrical tape here. And I just think because this actually goes down into the threads a little bit and blocks it off. Because I know I'm not going to sit there and paint a line around without getting any on the first thread, right? Let's remove our wrapping on the hose end here. That was easy. Okay, and that's clean. Now we're going to peel this off. No Loctite on that first thread. Okay, as we tighten this, it says to just wiggle, just so that you see that you seat it in there. Okay, now remember back when I said check out the orientation of this hose? It was up like this. You look back on the video, you see it. The instructions tell us to locate this equal or 15 up to 15 degrees. Let's see, thread swivel, okay. The hose should be orientated 0 to 15 degrees below the horizontal line. And it says take a 19 millimeter and torque it to 55 pounds and 55 newtons. Okay, I'm just going to get my protractor and just see how I am on that angle before I torque it. And I got my machinist protractor here because I can adjust it, see my bubble, read it, and we're like about 8 degrees right there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it right there. That's between 0 and 15. 7.5, 8. Okay, I like that torque. Next is our ground wire. And it's a piece of cake. Okay. I've got this pretty clean. Toothbrush does work good on getting that debris out of the threads. Here's our new washer. Dowley washer, they call it. It's got a rubber insert on it, so it's gonna seal in there. Now we got to put 545-2 or 54-52 Loctite on here, and it said not to get the first 2 threads. So here again, we're going to do our little tape trick right here. All right. And they supplied the 54-52 lube here, or Loctite, and like squeezing icing on a cake, right? Okay. All right. Now we'll peel off our masking. We got to come in from the top around that hose there, and we got to spin the gauge and the fitting at the same time. Absolutely no damage to that, but boy, that sure is a tight thread. That was too scary putting that in there and having it that tight right off the bat. Just like those other plunger threads in their bore. I went ahead and took this fitting out of the original head, and I also wiped off the Loctite and everything because I got to start from zero. I haven't done anything with the washer because the washer's still good, so as long as I don't crush it, I'm good with that. But that threads on perfectly after I blew and clean it out, you know. It's got an O-ring on this end here, and we can pull that out. I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to swap it out because even though this screws in here perfectly fine, this does not screw in that perfectly fine. And it could be just a skosh difference between the two threads as far as diameters. Whenever things are made at two different intervals of manufacturing, you can have issues. But the shortcut, without damaging it, I'm not going to go this far and damage this crazy thing. So I'm going to pull this fitting out and swap it out with this one. I'll put a little grease on the O-ring when I put it back down in here. This is basically a port plug so that the gauge can grab the pressure off of here. Alright, so there's nothing fancy about this. It's just got an orifice, boom boom, and the O-ring looks good there. Alright, I'm going to pull this O-ring and exchange it with this fitting here and then put it in here. Now, even see, I can't get it to. And it's real touchy, stainless and stainless. Scary stuff. I like that one. The new O-ring on the new one looks better than this O-ring, so we're gonna swap them out. Make sure this is the one that screws in there perfectly fine. Okay, let's put some grease on that and put it back in. All right, now back to zero. Masking or little tape coated up with the Loctite. Over the hose and into the fitting, and we'll spin it in. Way better, and I feel more confident that we've got the proper fit, and I feel a lot better. If that would have galled without getting all the way down in there. All right, what did they say here? And 35 nautical, or I want to say nautical because I see the end. 35 Newton pounds. Okay. And we'll feed the gauge in and put the gauge back into the faceplate there, and we should be good to go. Like a grommet, you're just kind of working all the way around it. Almost all the way. Maybe getting here like this. There we go. All right. Okay, now we just have the valve to hook back up. Okay, awesome, I like that. All right, and our 2 leads to that solenoid valve. Okay, now let's take our slat and push it back down in here. That's our drain hole, so we have a fitting. We can drain it out that way when it comes time to drain it. We're back in business. Time to test it. Okay. We're going to plug it in. We're turning on the water. Okay. I didn't hook up the main. These things do work. When the main water squirts on your alarm, see, they work. You got them in the right place too. All right. We're going to set that on the mat down here for right now. Let's put the water, the main water in here. Okay, that feels good. All right, now put the water on. Good. No leaks at our fitting. All right, I'm gonna take my air nozzle and I'm gonna blow all the water that's right there, just because you look for water. All right. Emergency switch off. Machine on. Okay, that was clutch was engaged. Okay, we're gonna Okay, first purge burped out a lot of air. Okay, I don't see any water there. I was concentrating on watching that water stream. I'm going to go for another nozzle purge. Awesome. I don't have any more knock. That thing really has got a whistle to it. It looks sharp. But it looks like my input pressure, or my total pressure, is down a little bit. I programmed it to go into a tank cleaning process, so it would oscillate, and go around, and it would operate and give it more buildup of time. Every time it starts and moves and starts again, every time it starts, it has been increasing the pressure, and it's right up there near its normal operating pressure, like it was when it was brand new. So I'm kind of just studying it. Oh, there it goes. We're gonna empty out our bins and see what we got here. All right, I've cleaned out my tank cleaning buckets, and it did pick up some stuff out of the bottom of the tank, and we're gonna run it through another cycle, just so we can watch some pressures some more. All right, here we go. It goes to home first, and then it comes out, and then it starts the cleaning. It was pretty fun to watch it go from starting out pressures of right around 4,000 psi, and now it's coming up into the green zone now. But look how steady it is, and no thunking. I like the jet stream actually has a whistle to it now, and I noticed that when it was brand new. What a great way to end a Saturday. Thank you guys. We did it. As they say, you've gotten me here, and that proves customer support second to none. All right, I'm gonna clean up my mess here and enjoy my machine, put back the covers, and get this thing on its next project. Thanks for visiting Job Shop USA. Till next time, get her done.
Thank you.